Hello and welcome to Are We Convinced? This is the podcast where we deep dive into the strange, the funny, the serious topics that have captured our attention throughout the week. I'm flying solo in this episode. Well, I say flying solo. I do have quite a big guest if you're into TikTok, because even if you don't follow this person, there's a 99% chance that she would have come up on your For You page. And literally, she is just dancing around the shop is how I kind of started. I mean, certainly how the videos that I seen it started, it kind of come up in my feed. And you know that thing where when you view it for so many seconds, the next day you go on and it is there again. That's the reason why she just seems so lovely when you see the videos. She's just having a good time. She's dancing around the shop. She's jiving. She is bringing both young and older people into the shop and into the TikToks as well. So, Helen from Sound Quality Gifts. I mean, what can I say about Helen? First of all, if you've no idea who Helen is, right? Let's just have a wee look at some of the. Let me show you just exactly what Helen is all about, right? So you go under TikTok, nearly 50,000 people following her, right? And this is the kind of thing that we're talking about.
Welcome here to Sound Quality in Monaghan, and I'm here with my beautiful staff. And do you know what? I want to tell you, it's a girls' night out. We're heading to Barbie. Woo! Yeah! Come on, Sound Quality Gifts, Monaghan, Ireland. Woo!
And her little catchphrase. She has several catchphrases. In fact, when I was in the shop, she showed me a tea towel of all the little things that she says. She would say very, very popular. But the main one that she says at the end of every video, Sound Quality Gifts. It's all here at Sound Quality Gifts, Monaghan, Ireland. And I'm sure you've seen her coming up on your feed, whether you've just heard her voice there, if you're listening to the audio one, or if you're watching the YouTube, you'll have seen her in full flow. And she just brings a good vibe. That is how I would describe Helen in, I was going to say one word, that's two words. In a generalization, she's a good vibe and it's a good time. So I went down to Sound Quality Gifts, and we will feature her in just a moment. But um, I'm not going to lie, I was almost a little not starstruck as such, but I was a little bit nervous than usual, because just when you see someone like that coming up in your feed so much and they're having such a good time, and you kind of you're worried to meet them in person behind the camera, but when they aren't recording, in case they aren't what they seem, in case it's just an act, in case it's not really who they are. And that's the bit I was a little bit afraid of. I'm afraid of going to the shop and finding out, well, it is a wee bit of a character that she puts on. But I can safely say that 100% the Helen that you see on the TikToks and the dancing around and the jiving and just the things that she comes out with when she's bringing you around her shop and so on, that is her. Because I can say we were speaking for maybe about, is it 15 minutes perhaps, on the part that I'm going to play, the video I'm going to play, and the audio as well. But I mean, I was there for nearly an hour and a half, because after and before and after, she was showing me around the shop. She was showing me all the different items, and even and I mentioned this to her face to face. Being in that place, and I was at the Coronation Street set last year, right? But I'm putting that in perspective. Massive TV show, and you're gonna have either nostalgia, you're gonna have a wee bit of kind of just unbelievability. Is that a word? That when you're standing outside Roy's Rolls and you're standing outside the Rovers Return, you're like, how am I actually here? I've watched this on TV. And I'm not even ashamed to admit this, and I'm not even joking when I say this. I had the same feeling when I was standing in front of the Sound Quality Gifts banner and in front of all the little things that she has. And when I say all the little things, she has everything from ring lights to anxiety beads to um cottages that you have little blocks of peat in, and you burn it. It's almost like a candle, like like an incense candle, but it's a it's so hard to describe. She actually she gave me one of these as well. It's a little cottage. You put the peat inside the cottage. You light the peat. You put the cover on, and then out just comes the aroma of just like rural Ireland. And it kind of reminds me because every year for summer holidays, my family would have went down to Donegal, and just that smell of turf, peat burning on the fire. You don't get that smell anymore. So she had those. She had everything from tea towels with your name on it to wallets, uh, loads of mugs, and just literally everything. Like you name it, she has it in that shop, and she can personalize it all there and then. So yeah, it was just such a good vibe, such a good person to be around. We kind of touched on anxiety as well, and we touched on people, being on phones so much. Although, I mean, ironically, people scrolling through TikTok is kind of what has made her profile because, she's got only 50,000 followers and millions of views. And she's even talking that people in America, people in Nashville have caught on and they want to get her over to Nashville for TikToks and so on. So, in that way, it's such a good thing because the world is able to see Helen in that way. But then in the flip side, she was saying, just about people being stuck on their phones and about causing anxiety. And she loves when people come into the shop and just have a chat with her or just, film TikToks because it's getting people out and about and so on. So double edged sword, I suppose, with TikTok where you do just get completely addicted. And certainly, I mean, it was during lockdown for me. We all think of TikTok, and certainly I think of TikTok where it was that first lockdown and it was just full of dances, like The weekend, Blinding Lights, and everyone was doing that dance to The weekend, or it was just silly wee videos. Whereas now it's definitely moved on where my "Are we convinced?" question, are we convinced that TikTok is the new Facebook? And that's the one that I put to her. That's the first thing that I said to her, to Helen, that it's everyone of every age is now on TikTok. Where it was just that era of just doing dances and just doing stupid wee things, almost like Vine was back in the day. Whereas now it's evolving almost to be like a Facebook, YouTube kind of thing, all put together because there's people of all ages on TikTok now and now doing all different kinds of things as well. So yeah, that was the question that I put to her then. I mean, are we convinced that TikTok is the new Facebook? I think before I even go into the interview and before I even let Helen speak, I would say that is 100% the case. So yeah, it was just such a good time, and I mentioned some of my favorite videos to her. Certainly, if you've seen her pop up, you'll have know all about her masks. I mean, I'll not talk too much. I'll let her explain that, and you'll see this. If you're not already watching the video version of this, I highly recommend you get on to the YouTube. I'll put the link in the description as well, or just search Are We Convinced podcast on YouTube. I'll put a few clips on our Instagram and our TikTok page as well, which is simply Are We Convinced? Um, when she brings out the umbrella, the famous umbrella that she's known for, um, I, she could make me believe that she invented the umbrella, that kind of a salesperson inside her. Like, although, yeah, you see the fun side and you see, and she actually mentions this, you see the side that TikTok sees. The back of her mind is just saleswoman, and she's thinking of the next thing. She's thinking of the next thing she can bring in. The next thing is going to be popular, and she talked me around that umbrella like she had invented the thing because um, it was an umbrella that kind of goes right down to your shoulders. It kind of goes right down and in round your neck, but the front is open. So, it's not like a closed in umbrella. It was just so funny when she went to grab the umbrella and the one thing that came into my head, and I didn't mention this to her, but I am convinced of this, that it's bad luck to have umbrellas up indoors. Was that always a thing that you were told? Certainly a thing that I always was led to believe that one, you don't put new shoes on the table, and two, you don't open an umbrella indoors because they're both bad luck. Walking under ladders as well. I mean, we could do a full episode on all of those things, but as soon as she popped open the umbrella, I didn't know where to look, but I had to let her just go on and just do her thing, and it was just to see her in person and just see the vibe that she gives off, just how you would be seeing her in TikTok. That was just the amazing thing. It was just so good to see that. So in this episode, I'll still have a little look at my Facebook memories. I haven't looked today, so I don't know if there's anything embarrassing there. I don't know if there's anything even worthwhile in there, but we will look at that. But let's get in to the reason why you're listening and the reason why you're watching today, then this is what happened when the first Out on the Road episode for Are We Convinced podcast hit Monaghan. And by the way, another quick story. I was so unprepared for this episode. I always like to be early with things, and I thought I was so early, and I was sitting in the car and I was thinking, right, okay, I've 10 minutes to kill here, so I'm just gonna sit here, gonna get my kind of questions in my head together and so on. And then I seen people go around their cars and they're putting tickets in the windows and so on. And I was like, oh no, this is a pay car park. Of course, then didn't have any euros on me. Had to go into the Super Value. So now what I thought Sound Quality Gifts was, I thought it was a shop on the street. It's actually not. It's part of a department store. And this department store had everything inside it. But could I find an ATM to get money out? So that was a whole palaver. I had to go to the ATM, had to get money out, then I had to go into the Super Value to get the money changed, get it into change, get to the machine before I got a ticket from the people walking around the car park. So that was a whole palaver. So I was a bit out of breath and a wee bit just all over the place. But hopefully I was able to pull it together enough for you to listen and for you to watch Are We Convinced podcast going down to meet Helen from Sound Quality Gifts in Monaghan, Ireland.
First of all, can I start by saying a very familiar background to a lot of people, okay? Now, I would say nearly 50,000 people on your TikTok page at the moment, Helen.
That's right.
Thank you so much for joining us on this podcast anyway.
You're very welcome, Peter, and thank you for coming to Sound Quality Gifts, Monaghan, Ireland.
The cat, it's in already. It's in already. And I must say, even just standing in a place like this, you know when you see things coming up on your feed and it's always there, being here in real life is something else.
Everybody that comes to see me says the same thing.
Yeah.
You know, that it's more real, and that whenever they come, that they enjoy the atmosphere, the feeling that's in the shop, which is lovely to hear, that I relax them.
Tell us about your TikTok journey, okay? So our question for this episode, TikTok, are you convinced that TikTok is the new Facebook?
Definitely so. TikTok seems it has taken over all. And I have to say, where it's fantastic. As you know, there's a lot of, like yourself, a lot younger people that are half my age that are TikTok mad and that are using it as their platform. But with me, that is double your age, it's brilliant for me. And I'm actually shocked the amount of young people I have. I have young people from as young as 6 years of age that parents are actually giving them the phone to watch me, up to the age of 92 years of age. I have people coming in dancing and singing and having the fun and the crack. It's wonderful.
And that's why I'm saying, like, you know, because Facebook was almost like that back in the day, but the fact that everyone is just on the one platform now, TikTok, and you have kind of capitalised that, you've kind of made that a thing. How do you remember the first video that you?
Oh, I do
posted?
definitely. The first video that I did was for it was Mother's Day, and it was actually in the evening time, and it was my son actually, and he said to me, "Mum," he says, "why don't you do a TikTok?" He says, with Meghan Trainor's song, "I Am Your Mother, You
Yes.
Listen to Me." So that was a very, very popular song. So I lifted my famous umbrella and I held it up and I said, "I am your mother, you listen to me, lastminute.com, umbrella, Mother's Day." Bang.
And that was it.
That was it. It all worked from there. Everything, it's all history.
Because you always like, you know, you put so much planning into some things, and like you say, it's the last minute wee bits and pieces that you put together, and there we are.
I have to say, what you see is what you get. I do not plan.
Right.
So any of the artists, anybody that has come into store, the people that ring me up and that say, "Right, what are you going to do, Helen, and what are you going to say?" And I says, "Like what?" And they'd say, "Well, what are you going to do with Peter?" Sure, you and I don't even know what we're saying next.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
So
Yep.
people love that. It's live. It's what is coming out of my mouth. That's it. I haven't made up anything. And that's what people love.
Yep. Yep.
What they see is what they get.
Yep.
Do
And
you know?
it's definitely paid off anyway, because you can see that. You can feel when someone is putting something on.
That's
In
right.
that kind of a way.
Yeah.
You talked about some of the people who have been in here. I mean, there have been some big faces over the past wee while.
Yeah.
Who can we mention some names? I mean, certainly recently we had Rory McSorley in.
Oh yeah,
and,
Rory's a good friend. He'd be sent often,
Yeah.
and we'd be on the phone quite a lot to one another. A really
A complete
nice
character.
guy, yeah, really nice individual. People are saying, Helen, what's he like, and what's he like, and they think he's one thing or another. He's actually a genuinely nice fella. So he is. We've had Nathan Carter. I've had actually quite a lot of all the country artists in, even before TikTok.
Yeah.
You know, as you can see, I've all these mugs with all them on it, like Philomena Begley and with Derek Ryan and Lord of Mercy and Larry Cunningham with Larry Cunningham. So we've had all these. We've had our very own Ryan Sheridan in. You have to always think of the locals.
Yeah.
And I am very much, as you well know, it's Monaghan, Ireland, and we're very much into local and local people and what we can offer here.
Yeah. And what you do offer, I mean, even just people looking around behind us here, and there is a little bit of everything, isn't it?
So we deal with births, deaths, marriages, engagements, anniversaries, retirements, whatever you want, we can personalise that gift for you, you know. And, you know, I meet so many beautiful people. I don't meet nasty people. I have to say, everybody that comes in, they're actually lovely. I have great fun and great crack with them. I have noticed lately now that, and I was saying that to you earlier, the amount of young people that are suffering big time with anxiety and older people from the COVID and that, they're suffering with, I hate the word depression, but there can be loneliness and just feel very much isolated and on their own, Peter. And I think that can be worked on. I think that's up to us to work on that. And I see it with people saying to me, Helen, I love to see you dancing, I love to see you singing. So it's life and it's energy, and that's what there's loads of that out there. There's loads of young people that can do that, do you know? For our children, you know, if parents coming in and they're looking for the healing stones and the angels and the dream catchers and the oils and that, and I have loads to offer them. But I still think that we need to encourage our children. Get out into the fresh air, go for a walk with your family, have the chat, have the crack. You're fit to talk. Get rid of these phones just for an hour, a couple of hours. There's too much technology around us. We're bombarded by it all. And I'm thinking, what's Peter doing now? He's doing this. I could do that. We're all the time wanting to be somebody else. Be yourself. Be 100%. Who you are.
100%.
Do you know?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and even when you come into even a place like this, even we're talking about that little shop floor here, it's just getting out and talking to people, and you say people coming in and dancing around and just being out of their environment.
I never know what I'm going to do next. Never know what I'm going to say, and I never know who I'm going to meet. And I just love what I do, because this is all to do with memories, and that's all we have. At the end of the day, we've just got our memories. And even down to, do you see this here, Peter? It's this is one of my mugs that's very popular. Look at, it's a girls' night out.
Lovely.
And this was the Barbie one. This hit 1.7 million people. Well, can I tell you that I had taken the girls out for the night. We said we'd go to the cinema to watch it. We went for a bite to eat first. It took all of 60 seconds to do the video for that. And it's a girls' night out. Do you know? That's what we were doing.
And do you think that's the key to, even you talk about like social media in general, is that the key to just being yourself, not trying to be someone else? You're not trying to be
yourself.
Anything.
TikTok actually had been in touch with me on different occasions, and the last conversation that I had with them, they said to me, right, Helen, what advice would you give to other people that want to go on TikTok? My advice is, be who you are. People know, they're not silly.
Yeah.
They know if you're trying to be somebody else. Do you know? Now, I was always up for the crack and whatnot all. You know, it just happens to be that I was found nearly whenever I was about to retire. It took me all of nearly 40 years to be found. But no, and I love people. That's it. End of story. I love the crack. I have people that come in and just say, well, what's the crack? And they come in and they know that if I'm not busy, they actually say to me, Helen, where do you get time to work? I make it look simple.
Yeah.
So I make it look simple because I'd be standing chatting and having the crack, but when they're not about, I'm trying to use my head and saying, where's our next
going overtime, yeah,
what
yeah.
are we doing next,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Well,
But that's it, life's good.
thank you so much for coming on to this podcast anyway, and I'm sure a lot of people will be glad to hear the familiar voice, you know, that kind of way you see someone on your feed and you want to just hear from them.
Yeah,
in
it's
person.
lovely though to see, and I think actually that podcasts are very big at the moment, and I've a lot of people saying to me, right, Helen, get your act together. It's where I'm getting me time to do the podcasts. But anybody's welcome that wants to come and share a story or share the crack with us of what they're doing, from music artists to people that write books or poetry or anything that they want to talk about. If they're wanting to talk, say, about suffering with the likes of anxiety or whatever's bothering them, there's no problem.
Yeah.
All people
Everything is covered.
are welcome here
Yeah.
at Sound Quality Gifts, Monaghan, Ireland.
And before we end, your most favourite thing that you have in here. What's your most favourite item that you have in? Would it be, we're going for the umbrella?
I have to say that this has been huge.
Yeah.
Everybody wants one of my famous umbrellas, and it's all because it has been tested. It won't blow away.
There was a video of you in the middle of the storm. You were out in the middle of the storm and the...
That's right. That was
Yeah,
the proof
the wind
of
and all.
the I was actually down in Port Stewart on the beach, and it was a bad storm there, and I was down in that with the umbrella.
Yep.
And I have to say, it stood its time and
Yep.
it stood the test. And then it's not the other thing. When I was down at the ploughing championship, they actually said that they wish I would have had a stand there. You know, that they
yeah,
wanted
yeah,
me to have
yeah.
a stand there to sell these because. You're covered down and it's not poking in somebody's face, so it's actually brilliant
Yep.
for what it actually does.
And you've got the
Peter.
front, you can see out as well. So
I have to say, all the merchandise stuff of Sound Quality. I have a website, soundqualitygifts.com, and merchandise stuff, unbelievable. The mugs, chocolate. And look at you have to see this. Look at this.
This is one of my favourites. I have seen this everywhere.
So
And-
we have to for the crack now.
Yep.
We have to put one on you.
Yep.
I'll hold the mic.
You hold that there,
Yeah.
okay.
So I take over the mic and you take over.
Oh, maybe we should take the glasses off. Maybe. There we are.
Ah, now
There
look
we
at
are,
that.
you see?
Look at that. That's class.
Just-
So which is which now? Do you think? Actually, Rory had put it on whenever we were out with the staff for something to eat, and Rory says to me, he said. He says, I'm just Helen. He says, she's grown a beard. So
It's wee things like that. It just shows that people want the
it's the simple
These are
things.
real wonderful
Yeah, it's
simple
the
things like that.
Sure, I was hanging on people's Christmas trees, and it's actually been in Australia. So people are buying it for hen parties, stag parties, birthday parties. And they're actually using them to try and sell the merchandise in their own stores too. So look it's all fun and crack.
Well, thank you so much for coming on this podcast, and I mean, the best of luck. Your videos are growing and growing, so who knows? Who knows
thankfully.
where's next? Who
Oh,
knows where's
absolutely.
next?
We're hitting on. I was sharing to you. So we're hoping now to hit on Nashville. So we've been invited to out to Nashville. So watch this space.
What's it? The power of TikTok.
Oh, class. Peter, thanks once
Thank you
again
so much.
for
Thank you so
for
much.
popping into Sound Quality.
Thank you.
I hope you felt the good vibes from that and just felt uplifted. Just being in Helen's presence, and even when we were talking about hard topics like, you know, anxiety and almost like a version on depression, and then we were talking about umbrellas. Like it was just a conversation that just went both ways, and she was just such a joy to be around. Unbelievable time with Helen. And you know what I'm sitting here thinking now, kind of listening to that back. I wish that we just had her on for the full podcast. 13, 15 minutes with Helen was just not enough. I mean, she's just one of those people you could just be around all day and listen to all of her stories all day. Fantastic. Right. Let's do our Facebook memories. Let me see if there is anything embarrassing, if there's anything that is worthwhile having a look at the Facebook memories today. So let's go through. It's always a bit of a hit or miss sometimes, Facebook memories. Sometimes they're just so embarrassing that you don't even want to look at them, to be honest. And let me just go through some. It's always a little bit of kind of sharing stuff, isn't it? One of them is on this day 10 years ago. That's quite a good quote, to be honest, from 2014, 10 years ago. Let's be honest, a world without music is just boring. The things you put on, like, is anyone else the same, or is it just me? Is it just my Facebook memories that come up and you think, I don't even remember writing that, and two, I don't even know why I would write that. Is it just me, or is everyone else's memories the same? I mean, leave me a comment in the comments below, just to please make me think that I'm not the only person out there who is writing pure rubbish on their social media. Also, in this, my only other memory coming up, on this day 10 years ago again, 2014, if this Flappy Bird is as bad as Candy Crush, I'm going nowhere near it. So obviously, and I think I do have a vague memory of that, where there was a period of time where I was on Candy Crush every single morning and night. Like when I woke up before school and in the evening, it was just Candy Crush. Weird. Candy Crush and Copter. Did anyone else play Copter? The game that I always remember getting into the computer suites, and obviously you're just meant to be doing work, but the one thing that most of the class were doing was on this game Copter, and it was basically, you know what, it was basically like the early version of Flappy Bird, where when you click the mouse, the helicopter went up and down, and you had to go through, up and down, through all the blocks. That was basically the original Flappy Bird, and then Flappy Bird came in. And I don't think I ever went near it, but I just remember the amazing hype about it, and when it got taken off, then the phones that still had Flappy Bird on it, because you then couldn't download it once they took it off the stores. But if your phone still had Flappy Bird on it, it was worth hundreds, thousands. I say hundreds. It was definitely thousands. There was definitely phones on eBay that were going thousands and thousands. Let's just have a little research on that, right? Okay. What should I type in? I'll type in Flappy Bird sales. Yeah. Flappy Bird equipped iPhones selling for £100,000 on eBay. And that was 10th of February, 2014. That came up. Other sellers are currently offering Flappy Bird equipped phones and tablets on eBay for anywhere between $300 to a few $1,000s, and some even having the price tag of $100,000. How much of a regret would you have after buying that for that amount of money? And do you know what? And as I've mentioned in this podcast before, I would probably fall victim, not quite the 100K, but something stupid, like if you buy a phone for, and it's not going to be the most up to date phone, but you buy a phone that can't be upgraded in any other way, and where they just take away support for Facebook and Instagram, everything else, but you buy it simply for that game, and then say like a year later when that craze is gone and it's even left yourself, and you're thinking, why am I now ending up with a phone in my hand that I've spent that amount of money for just because of a game? Unbelievable. So thankfully that is all that's on my memories. There's nothing really else there, to be honest. Thank goodness for that. And the things that I've picked up during the week, just before we end this episode. I mean, thanks so much for Helen as well for coming on this episode. Was absolutely brilliant. But the other wee notes that I have made for this episode, one note about Stormont, and we obviously don't get kind of too political. I don't really, not that I don't care enough to get political. I just can't be bothered to make a statement politically, because there's enough of that out there. on my Facebook, even when you scroll through. I'm just thinking, have your views, that's fine, but just to shove it down other people's throats. The one note that I simply made on Stormont coming back was, imagine you're off for that length of time, and I don't know what it was. Was it 2 years? Was it more than 2 years? I actually can't remember at this point. It just seems like they have literally been off for so long. And I say Stormont get off. I know there's going to be people out there going, we still worked and we still did this and we still did that and we were working away at things. Yeah, but I just mean the suspension. I think I want to say 2 years. Anyway, I'm sure you'll forgive me if that's totally the wrong date. But imagine being not having to go in to Stormont or not having the assembly kind of meetings. I don't know. Maybe they still did have meetings. I don't really, you know, understand exactly what was off and what wasn't off. But imagine then the day that it has officially been brought back and you're being told on, say, the Friday or the Thursday, and you're thinking, right, okay, this is my last weekend then before it all kind of hits and we need to actually put our minds to things now and make a difference. And then to find out that your first day back is a Saturday. I mean, even think of yourself being off sick for something, and you think, by Thursday, by Friday afternoon, you know that the next week that's upcoming, you're going to be able to get back to work again because of whatever reason. Either you've been off with a sickness, you've been off with an injury or something like that. And then you think, right, I'm going to gear myself up. This is going to be last weekend. I'll gear myself up for Monday morning because that's kind of when most things then start and your brain gets into gear then for the Monday morning. But then to be told that you're back on a Saturday, I think that, I mean, obviously, good thing, back as soon as possible, but just to have that in your mind thinking, I don't even get another weekend to prepare myself for all this that I'm walking into here. Saturday morning, we are back in on it. And the other thing that I am not convinced about, and I will, I don't know where this first started, but there was a video that came up on my TikTok, and I'll try and post it here if I can find it again. It was about a woman who was stuck in a lift, and she went into the lift and she pushed the alarm button. Then when she realized the doors weren't opening, that then started the phone call to whoever sitting in the office, wherever, to try and get help and so on. Then the phone call cuts off and she can't get it back again. She keeps pressing the alarm button and it doesn't phone that person back. And even just there, you see the panic on her face, and you can imagine what that would be like. The panic being on your face, thinking that I am now stuck in it. I am now that story that you hear that you never think is going to happen to you, and you're stuck in a lift. I am convinced that I was going to say lifts shouldn't be a thing. They obviously should be a thing because there's people who need to use lifts. I'm just not convinced on the lift phoning someone is a good enough system. Like, surely there should be massive lights and alarms and to tell everyone around you that you're stuck in that lift, instead of just phoning someone in an office somewhere and thinking, when is this person ever going to get to me? When am I ever going to? And that is my one fear. I even remember, like, from the age of 6 or 7, like, just hating being in lifts just for that reason. I don't think I've ever, well, I say there was one time I was in Dublin Airport, went from the ground floor up to the food court area. The doors didn't open at the food court area. The lift went back down, didn't open when we went down to the ground floor again. Then again, I pushed the button to go up, and thankfully it opened. The doors opened when we got back up again. So we went up, down, and up, and then they opened. But it was in that moment, where your heart drops and you think something's going to go wrong. And it was that moment where I had the very, very vague experience of being stuck in a lift. I mean, it was a matter of seconds. It was none of the horrendous stories that I hear from some people. And then I came across the videos of lifts in different countries, and some of them don't even have like the sliding doors where you can just see the floors going. And even like glass lifts and all. It's just, I had to go up the one in W5, and because it's all glass and you can see it all moving, I'm just thinking, this is not for me. But the one video that I came across where the lift just had no doors, I'm just not convinced. I'm just not convinced that they should be built like that. That it should be something better in place where I'm not relying on a wee alarm button to get me out of that place. It's just, yeah, one of those things. And then people say that if you kind of move the lift side to side, it will kind of wedge the doors open. Again, thankfully, I haven't been in that position to be able to try that and to need to try that. But yeah, it's just one of my things that I'm just not convinced that it's an easy enough scenario to get out of. But that's just another rant of mine, and just a new fear unlocked as soon as I hit that video again. I mean, I always kind of did have that what if scenario, but the new fear was definitely unlocked when I saw the video and she was ringing, and then it got cut off, and I'm thinking, well, what the hell do you do in that situation then if you can't get through to the person who's meant to be helping you and you're in a building by yourself and you've no way? Oh, no, not for me. Not for me. So, I mean, sorry if I've kind of put that upon you and sorry if I've now created a new fear inside you, but yeah, not for me at all. Anyway, thanks so much for tuning into this episode. Thanks again to Helen and to everyone at Sound Quality Gifts. I'll be putting plenty of clips on our socials if you're listening to the audio version of this. And of course, if you aren't watching the video, head over to the YouTube channel to search Are We Convinced podcast. You'll see the YouTube channel there and hit the wee subscribe button. And again, our TikTok and Instagram, Are We Convinced? That's the username for both of those. So we'd really appreciate the support over there, and share it with a friend if it's something that you think your friend will like. So thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.